Hi, in this video, we're going to continue looking at Axway Amplify Fusion CLI. This is part 2 of the series. So if you haven't seen part 1, where we describe where to find the CLI, how to download it, install it, and use it, take a look at that video. Also in part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the commands, how to call them, and we'll look at some of the commands that are required to do a deployment pipeline. So we're leading up to a deployment script which will promote a project from design to tech or live, and activate integration, and do that all via the CLI. So recall the CLI documentation, which has been available since 1.17, and you see there are commands for authenticating, managing projects, deployments, data planes, environments, users and teams, security, and monitor. And if I look here at the designer artifact management, we're going to use a lot of these commands, or some of these commands, in a deployment script. So let's take a look at this. So for projects, you can get projects, you can explore projects. And here you see on the right-hand side all the different subcommands. So there's project, get, export, delete, integration. There are events and locks. We'll take a look at those because we want to activate integrations. We also may want to lock and unlock the project. So we'll see those. For deployment, you have the ability to create deployment jobs. So you can create a deployment job, you can run a deployment job. We'll take a look at that because that's part of the deployment process. And also, what do we have here? We'll also take a look at environment management. So we'll be switching between environments because we are going from design to live. So in the online documentation, you can see the actual commands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the project that I used for the deployment video series. It was a very simple project that exposed an HTTP server endpoint, and it returned the current version of the project, which was actually hard-coded. So if you don't recall that project, go take a look at the deployment series video series, I should say. The other thing that's worth noting is I'm gonna be working down here in the terminal, and I'm gonna log in as a second user. You can't have the same user logged in both in the CLI and in the UI, and I do want to show you how CLI commands will change things in the UI. So here I'll log in with my main account. And here I am. And if I come into designer, notice I've got a lot of projects in design, none in check, and 2 in live. That's going to become relevant in a moment. And let me go to the project and show it to you. It's called LB CLI test. And it's pretty simple. It has an HTTP server connection and a flow. And the flow is pretty simple. It shows it as an HTTP server, and you can see it is active. And if I go to Postman, I can call this integration in dev. So the URL has the design suffix right there. And if I do that, it says hello from v72, and that is hard-coded here. Okay, if I go to the live environment, again, you can see it has the live suffix, and call that. So you can see in live, I've got this running too. So I did a deployment using the UI, and this project is also running in live, and it's also currently at version 72. All right, so that is the background. Hopefully this is not too confusing. So the first thing we're going to do, remember from part 1 of the CLI video, we're just going to set an alias. And I've got my downloaded jar file for the CLI sitting in my downloads folder. So this is the alias command. And we need to log in. I'm going to log in as a secondary user. And don't worry, that's not really my password. That's just here for now. And you can see that I am logged in, and it's Leor Brenman GM, which is different than Leor Brenman. Okay. Let's find out who I am and my role. We'll use the who am I. And then again, this is still from part one. We exercise these commands. Okay, so I'm in design mode, and that's kind of important. So when you log in, you're automatically in design mode, and that's important because we're going to be switching modes. And I happen to be a super admin. You probably can get away with just an admin for many of your CLI scripts and pipelines. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the basic commands, and let me do a get on project. And you'll see, it'll be hard to see in this small window, but I've got 160 some odd projects, so there's a lot here. And I didn't even get to CLI. Oh, it's LB CLI test, that's why I don't see that. But you get a yes, no to paginate through. I am not going to do that. So that's how I can get a listing of all my projects. Let's filter that a little bit using the -n. So here I can get and use a -n, and I can put the first few characters of the project name. And you'll see I'll just get the two projects that start with LBC. So I've got two, and we're working on this one, LB CLI test. All right, pretty straightforward. And what I can also do is find out what integrations are in this project. And if you recall, they only have one, and it's just flow one. Okay. And the other thing you're going to need for deployment is we need to know the data plane name. And I'll be doing everything on the shared data plane. So that is this one. And I've got also another data plane, but I'm not going to be using that. Finally, this command is to get the environment. So this is using the environment command, and I am in design mode. Great. So there's some basic commands just to kind of discover things, get the names of certain artifacts in your tenant. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at some commands that are useful for a deployment, to create a deployment job and promote a project to a higher environment and activate the integration. We're not going to actually do a script. We're just going to look at some of the commands. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is there is a command to activate or to enable an integration. So I've got a project that's an event. I want to enable it. This is the project name. This is the integration name, and it's on this data plane. Now this one's already activated, right? Because we looked at it in Postman. It says event already started. So that's the response. If you try to enable event, it's already enabled. All right, so now let's go here to let's disable it. And again, just to be clear, I enabled an already enabled event, and that's this. But now let me disable it. So Fusion project event oh, this should be disabled. Okay, let's fix this. Fix my script. Okay. All right, so the event will stop, and now if I try to make a call, you'll see that it stopped. And if I come here to the UI and click refresh, you can also see that it's no longer running. So let's show this. This is interesting. So now it is enabled. Click refresh. And now it is disabled. Okay. So that was event, enable, disable. And for API, it's activate and deactivate, but you can look at the documentation and figure all of that out. So let's take a look at locking and unlocking projects. Sometimes you will need to own the lock to do certain operations on a project. So let's take a look at that. So here I am, I'm logged in with my Axway account. And if I click refresh here, I do own, oh, that's not refresh, click refresh. You can see that I do own the lock, right? So I've got the lock. what I'll do is let me lock it with this user. So I'm using the Fusion Project Lock Enable, and this is the second user who now has the lock. So if I come here and click refresh, I no longer have the lock, and I think it will tell me, no, it doesn't tell me who has the lock. Maybe that happens here. Refresh this. Yep. So I can see that Leor Brenman GM, took the lock. Okay, so that's good. And what I can do is let me now release the lock. So I'll let this user, Leor Brenman GM, release the lock. So I'm using Fusion Project Lock Disable. And if I click refresh here, you can see that now it's left in an unlocked state, and I can take the lock if I want. All right. So since we're going to be promoting a project to a higher environment, at some point we'll need to move into that environment. And as I mentioned, when you sign in, when you log in, you are in the design environment. So what I'll do is let me now switch to the live environment. So I'm using a different command. I'm using the environment switch, and the name of the environment I want to switch to is live. And I can also confirm what environment I'm in. So I'm in live. And now when I do a get project, to get all my projects, I'm not going to paginate, because if you recall, I only have the 2 projects in live. And there you go, those 2. All right. So I'm in the live environment, and recall that the integration is running in the live environment. So let's deactivate it, because we already know how to do that. And since I'm in the live environment, I just run that same command, project event disable, flow 1. And now I'm deactivating it in the live mode. So here, that doesn't work anymore, right? So there's no integration running there. Let's switch back to design mode. Fusion environment switch to design. Environment change to design. We can confirm that with the environment PWE. All right. So now let's talk about deployment jobs. So there, in the deployment section of the CLI, there is a create. So Fusion deployment create. So this is the name of the deployment job. You can call it whatever you want. I typically like to use the project, the main project, I use DJ for deployment job, and then the version. And probably that exists already, because I was testing this. So maybe we will do an underscore here. And then the description is there, and I typically use the same name. And this is the project and version. So it's LB-CLI test, and it's currently at version 72. Let's check that. Yeah, it's currently at version 72. So what I can do, actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we make a modification here? Let me deactivate this. Oh, it is already deactivated. All right. Why don't I modify this to version 73? All right, let's just test it really quickly. Okay, and this is deactivated, but it was returning v72. Okay, so let's deactivate here. And now what I can do is version my project, and this is typically what will happen. The developer will make a change, and they will version the project, create a new version, v73, and save that. Okay. So now what I can do is I can come down here, and let's do a version 73. All right. All right, so I do a Fusion deployment create on the v73, and it was created successfully. if I come here and look at manager and come to deployments, you will see that I've got a V73 that has not been run yet. Okay. So we created the deployment job. Now let's run it. So I do a Fusion deployment run. I give the deployment job name and I tell it where I want to run it. I want to run it to, and I want to run it into live. Normally you'd go to check and then later you'd run again to live, but I'm just showing it being moved into a higher environment. All right, now if I refresh the screen, oh, okay. I actually need to change this. All right, 73 is the one I want to run in live. Okay, and now I refresh the screen. And you can see that 73 was run. So that project is now in the live environment. So let's switch to the live environment. So Fusion environment switch -m live. And what I can do is let's just confirm. Here's live, send. It's not active, so we have to activate. We have to enable the integration. Let's do that with our project event enable. Give the project an integration name. The event was started successfully, and now if I click send, hello from version 73. So we actually looked at some basic commands in this video, and then we looked at some of the commands that are required to promote a project from design to a higher environment, in this case live, including switching environments, creating deployment jobs, enabling and disabling integrations. And in the next video or future videos, we'll take a look at things like connection overrides, and we'll take a look at a script that actually runs the entire sequence of commands and promotes a project to live and enables the integration. Thank you.